Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, and we kick off the final week of February with our main man, Lon Strickler, coming on in from phantomsandmonsters.com. I love it when Lon is here. His hair looks fantastic. His beard is trimmed absolutely perfectly, and he's ready for tonight's show as we say hello to each and every one of you, including Tim Mothman and his goatee, sharing the gold medal. T-Bone with a silver, Paramarv with a bronze medal tonight. Let us start off with our roll call here and say hello to Kitty Cattywhack. And who is next? It's Trucker Andrew, everybody. Welcome. And Race Fan, how you doing? Chris 14, how you doing, buddy? Necessary Dialogue. And Mel WD40 is here, lubing us up for tonight's show, because you can't talk phantoms, you can't talk monsters without being lubed up. So thank you, Mel, for the lube. Don't forget to give yourself a little shot as well. Robert Lamoth, how are you, my friend? As we scroll on down on roll call, there's Frankie B and Paula Fost. How are you both? Desert Rat, nice to see you. As we scroll on down to say hello to Kathy Evans. Little Cam on YouTube, so excited for tonight. He kicks off the super chat while still doing 1,500 leg crunches in 18 minutes. Guy was cruising. That's a good day, Little Cam. Thank you for that. Mama Catherine, how are you, my dear? I hope you had a great day. I know you love Lon. I know you want to give Lon a big hug one day, but I know you're going to enjoy tonight's show. I love you. Thank you for tuning in tonight, and we're going to make it good just for you. Just for you, I promise. All right, let's continue on with our roll call here. And who is next on our list here? Well, let's scroll on down and say Luscious Jules is here. Luscious Jules will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Bam Skyder, how are you tonight? As we say hello to Lisa Smith as well. And roll call continues as we scroll on down to say hello to Carol Amario. Nice to have you here. Operation Shutdown. Nice to see you, my friend. Benno from Oz, what's happening, my man? Sean Newkirk, welcome to SOR Chat. How you doing, my friend? Thank you for joining us. Signs of Life, good to see you. East Coast Turnaround on X, thank you for joining us. Number 14 in your program tonight, starting at center ice from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. Jay Truthseeker, how are you? And thank you for purchasing your ticket for Caribou Con 2026. Jay will be up here for September 18th through 20th, hanging on out for the weekend with all of us. We encourage you to go to cariboucon.com, CARIBOO con.com. Get your tickets today. Be like Jay, everybody. Be like Jay. Good job, Jay. Thank you for that. Werewolf, how you doing, my man? I'm Hardcore over on X. Roger Blair, nice to have you both here. As we continue on with our roll call, Stephanie Kenny Blankenship. Little Mikey is here. Little Mikey will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Undead Jed, Dr. Bob, Lisa Piper. Nice to have you all here. Gary J., how you doing, man? Al Garay over on Twitch. So excited for Lon. It only took him 7 minutes to do 2,000 push-ups, and he had a 3.5-minute break in between. Good job, Al Gray. Jessica McCreary, how are you? Super crazy. How you doing? Let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We're having a great show all planned out for you from phantomsandmonsters.com. We have Lon Strickler and Strange Days. It happens the final Monday of each month. We're in roll call on our YouTube side right now. Marmar Rio, welcome to SOR Chat again. How are you? And Exquisite, nice to have you back. Digger Dog, nice to see you. T-Bone, thank you for that great super chat. Really appreciate your love and support of SOR, my friend. Thank you very, very much. We got 30 seconds until we launch. Walter Kochabinski, Mr. Cowley, and Lorianne. Who's that? Lorianne Dielba. Welcome to SOR Chat. Loriana, how are you? Mike Rivers, nice to see you. And who else is here? Jerence Carter, everybody. I'll get to the rest of you in the chat room. Miss Tessa Marie, how are you? Throw those horns up. Let's rock.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Shush. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears towards the little cabin in the woods, where together, my friends, we own the night. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by the Caribou Con. CaribouCon.com. Get your tickets today to come visit us September 18th through 20th. Once again, at CaribouCon.com. We have an amazing show coming at you for tonight. Why? Because we love it when phantomsandmonsters.com creator, lead investigator, Lon Strickler is here with us to talk about the Glimmer Man tonight. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will join us for another creepy story. We're going to follow that up with the Wizard. Yes, this is the Wizard's last week on the show. He's got some family stuff and work stuff coming on, so we're going to be getting ourselves a new UFO reporter. The Wizard is, we'll talk about that in hour 3. We're going to miss the Wizard around here. He's a good person, very good person. But we'll get into that more a little bit later indeed. So let's get right to it, everybody, shall we? Lon Strickler is a respected Fortean researcher, author, and publisher of the internationally recognized paranormal research website, phantomsandmonsters.com. Since founding his blog in 2005, Lon has taken in thousands of eyewitness reports, including UFO sightings, cryptid encounters, hauntings, supernatural events, and unexplained phenomena. His love of this subject attracts tens of thousands of daily readers worldwide, all interested in trying to figure out if the monster sighting they have had has been reported before. And if not, maybe they take the time to actually report it. It's definitely worth it because Lon is one of those guys who is literally everywhere. You've seen him on TV, radio shows, documentaries. And of course, the only thing I'm really surprised in is that GQ hasn't called him up for a cover spread and an article on phantomsandmonsters.com. He's rolling his eyes at me as we speak as I say that. So let's just bring him on in. Model, actor, researcher, Author. Oh, Lon Strickler. I always try to make you laugh before the show, and I'm glad I did again.
Hi, Dave. My condolences to the Canadian hockey teams as well.
You had to bring it up, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
You had to bring it up. Let me tell you something about this. I'm a little upset. Now you're going to get me to rant a little bit here. I'm a little upset with my fellow Canadians. Okay? And let me tell you why. This is not politics. I don't care if you think Orange Man bad or Democrats bad or you're right or you're left. Okay? I don't care. It was a great hockey game. And this is true. The lesser team won, but they had a performance of a lifetime by goaltender Connor Hellebuyck, who will probably never have a game like that in his career again. He was lights out phenomenal. There's a reason why I think he's one of the top 2 goaltenders in the world, not just in the NHL, in the world. He is that good. And he stonewalled us because we were all over you for the last 40 minutes. We outshot you 42-21 in the game, and that usually means a lopsided win. 95 times out of 100, Canada wins that game. But you know what? The hockey gods were with the USA that day, and you know what? We got a great final, even though overtime should be 5-on-5 and not some cheap 3-on-3.
Yeah, well, it reminded me of 1980 again. That was the cool thing about it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'm not going to say much about it, but it was an interesting game. Yeah, that kid really played his heart out. So
oh yeah, absolutely he did. Absolutely he did. And like I said, there's a reason why I think he's one of the top 2 goaltenders in the world. Right. But the way, and I'll be honest with you, man, I'm not used to seeing this from my Canadian brothers and sisters. When you win or lose a hockey game, you have to be able to take a ribbing. You have to. That's part of the law and the lore of the game. I had my American friends calling me up. Even my Canadian cousin who lives in Vegas for the last 25 years said, "Hey, Team USA, USA." And I had to remind him, I said, "You're Canadian, right? But you have to take the ribbing." And Canadians are acting like a bunch of spoiled sport idiots right now over this. Okay, we are. Right? Because here's the thing, Lon, and the reason why I can say that with such 100% efficiency is because if we would have won, we would be rubbing salt in the American wounds as much as possible.
Of course.
People are trying to politicize this. It has nothing to do with politics. It has everything to do with a great game of hockey that didn't go our way. Now we must take the crap that comes along with it because that's part of the game.
Yeah, both women's and men looked they were great games. I mean,
absolutely they were.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, I thought it was fantastic. You know,
I'm a Ravens fan, so you can understand how I feel about it because we have a good season for the most part, excluding last year. But we have a good regular season and go into the playoffs and, blow up. So, yeah, I get it.
Oh, I get it too. I get it too. We're acting like a bunch of idiots right now. I don't like it. Not Canadian. Not Canadian at all. I got to tell you a weird story, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
And trust me when I say this, because I actually, for our audience, just for, being open and honest, I actually talked to Lon about this for the show. I actually had something weird happen to me this last week and a half. And well, the incident happened about a week and a half ago. And I wasn't sure if I was going to bring this up on the show, but I'm going to. One of the first people I met in my town was a guy who owned the local sports store. And I loved that store. And he treated me well. From the first day I walked in there, he always treated me well, him and his wife. And I went into his store about a week and a bit ago. And I was like, I remember leaving the store thinking something is off. I don't know what it is. Something is off. Like it just, I remember before I got into my vehicle to drive away, I was like, huh, that was just weird. Like his energy was off. Like, what is causing this? Well, I found out on Saturday that both he and his wife passed away. And they were it was an accident, and they went ice fishing and fell through the ice. And well, bad things happen when you fall through the ice and there's nobody around on one of these scenic private lakes that we have up here. And I don't know what that was, dude. I really don't know what that was, but it didn't hit me until earlier today that all of a sudden you get that little birdie in your ear. It says, "Hey, remember when you walked out of the store and something didn't feel right? And now this has happened." I'm like, I'm not hurt by it. I'm weirded out by it. You know what I'm saying? And I don't really know how to react to this yet, Lon.
Yeah, I know that feeling. I mean, I've had that happen before as well. And you think a lot of things. You think, well, maybe if I had sensed something, and maybe I could have done something, but you couldn't have done anything. There's nothing you could have done about it.
Oh, I agree.
And I don't know. I mean, I know where you're coming from, and I imagine others have experienced that as well. But I don't even know if that strange feeling you picked up when you were with him before that was even related to that. It's just weird, and it does happen. And honestly, and like I told you earlier, I mean, if I do sense something later on or pick up on something or connected somehow, I will let you know. But yeah, it's a shock. Stuff like that happens and just shocks your system. And then you start thinking back, well, but I feel you, man. I get it.
Have you ever had that happen to you?
Yeah.
You're way more intuitive than myself.
Well, you know about the story I told you about the school teacher who was abducted, and she never came back, and I felt guilty about that, and I still occasionally do. Maybe I could have done something to maybe change the situation, but there's nothing you could have done. And in your case, probably more so, much less you could have done. So, I mean, you didn't want to go in there and say to the guy, well, be careful because I sense something,
Oh, absolutely. I had no idea they were going to their cabin fishing. Like, I don't know the guy that well.
Yeah.
It's not like we hung out and, had beers and shot the stuff. But I will say this. When I first started going into him, he would ask me, he goes, so I asked him one day a few years ago, does he ever get anybody in here who talks about Bigfoot? And he's like, no, can't say I have. And he goes, and gives me the laugh. Why, you believe in that crap? So, yeah, I saw one. And every time I walked in his store, whether there were customers or not, from then on, he always said, hey, how's your search going? Anything new? And he was always really excited when I showed him a footprint, or I showed him the one picture that we got last year of the Sasquatch up in the tree looking down at us. And he was always interested in what we were doing. And I just really loved the guy,
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. It was just weird. Very, very weird.
Well, that's why we discuss and talk about these things that, are unexplained, and the connections, and, it happens. And I think most people who are intuitive, who do pick up on things, do get that sense of maybe guilt to some extent, but it's absolutely a shock to the system. So there's not really a whole lot you can do about it.
Yeah. I just wish the universe would have told me that was my time to say goodbye.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe it was, and I just didn't pick up on it. I don't know. I really don't know. But I'm still weirded out by it.
Yeah. Well, you probably will be for a while.
Yeah, totally. Totally. My friend, you are a monster hunter. Let's get into you here because this show is a little bit more important for you than, because you are the guest, you are the mainstay, and your hair looks beautiful for tonight. So, what are you laughing at there? What are you
I'm
laughing
at you, man.
So let's talk about you because, we always have new listeners coming on in. Your website is one of the most popular in the world when it comes to tracking monsters at phantomsandmonsters.com. This is your passion. This is your story. What's it like for you when all of a sudden you open up your email and there's like dozens of people inquiring about monsters that they've found? I mean, that's got to feel pretty good.
It's almost every day, actually. It's interesting to get an email about something that you just have not really looked into or have had a lot of reports about, just like what we're going to talk about tonight, the Glimmer Man. That's something that we have been talking about for maybe a dozen years or so. Myself, Cal Filson, and Cameron Hale over at Expanded Perspectives, because they contacted me years ago about it, and as time has gone on, and they've been talking about it on their podcast, we started getting reports, and of course, I've been putting it on the blog all that time. But the phenomena is expanding, and more people are seeing these things, and it got to the point where we decided to write a book, and it's going to be released tomorrow, actually, or today, Tuesday. So, yeah, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that just really excites us, because I like to delve into new phenomena, and especially when it's something that, you just imagine how I felt when we just started getting deeper into the Chicago Mothman thing, and other cases that I've been involved with over the years. It's something new. It's something that people don't really know about. And you get the opportunity to talk to the witnesses and do the investigations and present it to the public.
Right.
And that's big for me.
For you presenting these monsters to the public, I think a lot of people expect you to have an opinion, because we're in such a where's the proof age now.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think a lot of people understand, who may look at you for the first time and read some of these wild, zany stories that people report to you, that it's not your job to give an opinion. Your job is to investigate the call. And you've already edited the zany ones out.
Yeah. I from the very beginning, I have not offered opinions as to what the phenomena may actually be. And in fact, I enjoy presenting the evidence that I receive and getting responses and comments from people as to what their opinions are of it. Some people take it personally that I don't give my opinion, and now I probably do now more than I had before, because people have been getting on me for the last several years about, well, explain this to us. What do you think about it, and this and that, and I think when I got involved with this thing in Chicago, I got much more of that, because most of the evidence has been anecdotal, and it's all word of mouth, and it's just witness statements. And I have been trying to offer what I believe to be opinions. And but as far as what we're looking into now, I mean, this Glimmer Man phenomenon, we can only give basic just our opinions, our theories as to what we believe it actually is, though we can't prove it. It gets to be frustrating sometimes, but all I can do, and all I would normally do, is just give the facts, offer some suggestions, some theories, but that's all they are. Maybe one day, just like Bigfoot, maybe we'll get an answer as to what Bigfoot really is.
Right.
It's just, there are very few answers as to what any of this phenomena is. Cryptids, UFOs, even hauntings and such, you know. So we do the best we can at it, but when it comes down to it, it's all opinion.
When you look at some of these stories, we're going to get to Glimmer Man in the next half hour. We got about 4 minutes to go here. Lon Strickler from phantomsandmonsters.com is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Lon, when you look at some of these stories that people have reported to you over the years, what are some of the head scratchers that you've heard?
Well, this one here in particular is a head scratcher because, you know, but the winged humanoids have been something that we've been doing for a long time. We just really don't know what we're dealing with. But any cryptid phenomenon in particular is got its caveats to it. Even more so in recent years, because there always seems to be something else involved with it. It's never, I'd say 80% or so of the cases that we get or the reports we get, when it comes down to it, and as you dig deeper into it, there's always another aspect of the paranormal that's connected to it, be it orbs or other type of phenomena we just don't understand, UFOs and cryptids connected. You know, it just runs the gamut. I mean, it's there's always something, it seems now, that's connected to it. So that's why we do the investigations. You know, a lot of people will get will read a story or hear something on YouTube and they just think it's cut and dry and that there's something that we don't understand. But then there's, you know, as you go deeper and deeper into it, and many times I've had to come back on cases and represent them with the additional evidence or possible connections. And and that's becoming more and more now. I mean, there are more and more follow-ups or updates to cases than there ever has been. So I mean, that's I think that's the big head scratcher, you know, connections.
What about these creatures that never existed before that now seem to be popping up? You know, I mean, to me, we're going to talk about Glimmer Man in a few minutes, but to me, this seems like it's right out of creepypasta type stories.
Yeah. Well, people didn't have a name for it until more recent years, and the internet's been up, and you know, a lot of things have come up on the internet that just don't seem they could be actually real. But these memes seem to formulate into something more. I mean, manifestations, even been in the news, just like the Slender Man manifestations. And, you know, when that first started out, we knew what the nexus of it was because it was something that was on the internet, but then it started expanding and more expanding, and people were seeing these things. And we didn't really have explanations, but, you know, we're getting like these pale crawlers now that we've been looking into about 15 years or so. And of course, this Glimmer Man phenomena, I mean, I believe it's attached to pulp culture for the most part, the winged humanoids. And a big thing about that is many times when people see these creatures, they connect it to something in pop culture or a film or a TV show or something. And it's something they know because they've seen it on TV or they read about it, and they try to connect it to that. And I believe maybe half the Chicago Mothman cases, even winged humanoids in general, people refer them to the Jeepers Creepers films.
Right.
And this thing with the Glimmer Man, they connected to the Predator films. So it's much different now. But you know, honestly, I think people have been seeing these phenomena for a long time.
Hold that
But
thought.
now they
Ron.
have
We're
something
going to
connected to.
take a break here at the bottom of the hour from phantomsandmonsters.com. Our good friend Lon Strickler is here for his monthly edition of Strange Days. And when we return, we're going to get into the creature called the Glimmer Man. All right, buddy, we're clear. There we go. What you chewing on there?
I had a little bit of a candy bar. My sugar was dropping a little bit.
What kind of chocolate bar you have there?
Hershey's cookies and cream white chocolate.
Oh, God, those are good. We got those up here. Those are good.
Yeah, we don't live far from Hershey, so
You get all the good stuff.
I'm actually related to that family.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Back in the 90s, my dad worked for an ice cream factory. He ran an ice cream factory.
Mhm.
So I would get, like, he'd bring home these, every couple of months, he'd bring home these giant boxes of ice cream. You know, like buckets of ice cream and all the novelty flavors and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, this is so good. I miss those days. I miss those days a lot. Paramarv wants to know if you brought enough for the entire class.
I saw that. I've been nibbling on that thing all night long.
I'll just be good and sip my water here. Yeah. That's all I'll do. Don't worry about me, Lon. Don't worry about me. I'll just sip my water. Let's see here. All right, where are we? We got about 2.5 minutes, my brother.
Okay.
Chris Jarvis, how are you? Do you have to barter for chocolate up there in Canada? Why would we have to barter for chocolate, man? Come on. That just goes right up there with a hockey shot from Lon right there. You know, I've already taken one cross check to the face already tonight. Barter for chocolate. Holy cow. We aren't that communist yet. And yes, I can still go buy a loaf of bread. Barely. With my shekels, my 2 shekels that I have in my pocket. Yeah, look at Miss Tessa Marie here. Poor Dave, sipping water and probably eating stale bread. No, it's not stale. Purdy's chocolate is good, T-Bone. That's a good call. Way to stand up for the Canadian right there. Peter Benton, how are you? Now, my fellow Canadian listeners, we have to allow the Americans to give us our shots right now after they beat us in hockey at the Olympics. That's just the way it goes. We got to take it for a couple of days, and then after like Thursday, the news will have passed. Nobody will know who the Kachuk brothers are anymore, and then we can just slide underneath the radar again. F you, Zeddy! Right off the bat, right like that. Thank you to T-Bone and Little Cam for the super chats tonight. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. Don't forget, give us a thumbs up. It helps with the algorithms. Leave a comment after the show. I'd appreciate it. I want to know what you think. And the only way I can know is if you tell me your opinion by leaving a comment after the show. CaribouCon.com. Go get your tickets now. Be like Jay Truthseeker. And we'll see you at the Caribou September 18th through 20th. We're about to talk the Glimmer Man on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us on in as we have Lon Strickler here from phantomsandmonsters.com. We will get to him momentarily. But first, we want to remind all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. He's Lon Strickler. He's a creator of phantomsandmonsters.com, and we are going to be talking about the Glimmer Man coming on up here momentarily. Lon Strickler, you can find his books at any major online outlet like Amazon or on his website, phantomsandmonsters.com. Lon, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fine, Dave.
Good. I'm glad. Now I can go home now.
Okay.
I'm doing fine. That's all I needed to know. Lon, explain to us what the Glimmer Man is.
Well, like I said, this is something that popped up maybe about a dozen years ago. People were seeing and starting to report this translucent humanoid shaped being. And the analogy is it looked like the predator, the cloaked predator from the Predator film, basically that alien who would do something on his wrist and he would cloak himself, but you see that shimmering of the outline of the body. And that's what people started seeing and reporting. And most of the earlier reports came from hunters who were actually seeing them up in the trees, mostly when they were in deer stands. And they would catch something out of the corner of their eye on another tree, and they'd look at this thing, and they would see movement, but they weren't seeing anything generally. But they saw this glimmering effect, and when this thing would move, they would see the outline of the body. You and I talked before about Bruce Maccabee, and he's kind of the first one that put it out there. I think it was his wife had actually seen it first. She was hunting and saw it in Ohio, and I don't know if that really started it off, and I don't really remember exactly when it was they had that encounter, or she had that encounter. But after that, a while after that, we started getting more and more reports. Now, like I had mentioned before, Kyle Filson and Cameron Hale over at Expanded Perspectives started asking me about it because they were getting these reports for their podcast. So I started looking into it. They sent me a couple of reports they received. I put it on the blog to see what kind of response we got. And people were very interested. They didn't know but then again, we started getting reports, and they were very, very good reports. I mean, they were very descriptive. I'd be talking to many of these witnesses, and they were very animate about what they saw. And almost every one of them would say, it kind of looked like the cloaked predator from the films. So that's kind of a lot of what we went on. And of course, as it started picking up speed on the internet, that's what people were describing as looking at. So that's the analogy we had, but it continues on. And we we've been collecting these stories for all these years, and occasionally some will come into our purview, and we'll report on it and see what's going on, and present it. So we decided that, hey, we're going to write a book about it, because there really hasn't been much out there. Yeah, that's the phenomenon. And of course, I got to mention tomorrow or today, our book, which is titled Glimmer Man, Cloaked Beings That Move Among Us, will be available on Amazon. And we do have theories in there about what we believe it is, what it may be. Of course, it's theories. And I personally believe that they're ultra-terrestrial beings, very much like what I believe the winged humanoids are, and other cryptid phenomena. I think they're beings that can come onto our Earth plane, but whatever means, possibly portals, any other type of interdimensional travel, and are here for a limited amount of time and then just go back to where they are, or maybe some of them stick around. I believe these Glimmerman phenomena are something that do stick around. Now, there's a lot of theories in the cryptid world that maybe what they're seeing are cloaked Bigfoot. I've heard that many times. I have seen photographs of possible Bigfoot literally changing into this glimmering type of aspect of them, their cloaking. I don't know if that's true or not. It's just another theory, but there have been some photographs available of this. So, yeah, so that's
real?
what we're dealing with. Huh?
Do you believe it's real?
Oh, I do. Yeah, I believe it's probably real. I mean, look, this isn't the only translucent phenomena that we have been getting for years. I mean, I for about 20 years now, I've been looking into and reporting these translucent flying manta rays. And I'm probably going to end up writing a book about that at some point if but I do report on it when I get reports. We don't know what they are. They may be some type of bio craft or such. Maybe they're living beings, but people see them many times and they look very translucent. And I don't know if it's connected to the Glimmer Man or not.
I was actually, speaking that you said that,
Yeah.
I was actually on the radio this past weekend with Walter M. Sterling on WABC overnight, and we took phone calls, and there was a gentleman who called up talking about a manta ray UFO with red lights on it that he saw somewhere in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is just, it was incredible.
Yeah. Well, speaking of New York, I had a sighting reported to me in on Long Island of a craft at night where this woman had literally seen this thing. It was bright enough that she could see that it was shaped like a manta ray. It's pretty big, but she could see through it and see the stars through it. And but it was moving, and she could literally see the kind of glimmer effect, or the that glassine looking effect. Yeah, and I have had several of those reported to me. And I've posted many of them recently on the blog itself. So there was a very well-known case in Burnside, Kentucky that I reposted on the blog the other day, of a huge manta ray shaped translucent craft that seemed to, it undulated just like a regular manta ray or stingray would, but it was in the air and it was flying, and it literally acted like a living creature.
Ever tell you my manta ray story?
No.
This is going back probably about a year or two before COVID. I had a dream one night that I had been taken. My dad was there. My one friend was there from high school. And my psychic friend, Samantha Mowat, was there. And this was in like the old style farmhouse, where you have the 3 stairs up to the patio, the covered patio and the awning on front, and typical 2-story type farmhouse. But the house was maybe 30 feet from the road. It was a two-lane road, and on the other side of the road, there was a ditch that went into a lake. Okay.
Mhm.
And I'd never heard of this mantid stuff before, or manta ray stuff. And so in this dream, I'm watching, my buddy and I are watching this UFO fly closer and closer back and forth. And after it would go one way, a Canadian CF-18 Hornet would follow it. It would go the other way. The Hornet would follow it back. But every time it went back and forth, it was getting closer and closer to us until it got maybe 50, 60 feet from us. And then it turned its belly on its side. And the under part of the UFO, like just your regular disc shape, had a giant blue manta ray on it, or stingray on it. Blue stingray, pardon me, not a manta ray, a blue stingray on it. And I got weirded out. Well, a few days later, about 10 days later, Hellier Part 2 came out from Greg and Dana Newkirk. And I believe it's in episode 6 or 7. Alan Greenfield starts talking about these blue manta rays or blue stingrays that people see painted on UFOs. I had never heard of this before. And imagine my shock when all of a sudden Alan starts talking about this, and I go right back into that dream state, thinking I saw that in my dream. Like, what is this about? Right. And more people are all of a sudden starting to come out recently about manta rays and stingrays in UFOs. What is this phenomenon, Lon?
I don't know. I mean, I believe they're probably a bio type of creature that is shaped like a manta ray and flies. Maybe it has other beings within it, but it does really mimic a manta ray or a stingray in the way it moves, the way it uses its wings or whatever you want to call it, flaps or whatever. The first case that I ever got happened just down the road from Point Pleasant.
Really?
Yeah. And that was the first one I received. And this woman and her friend was driving, were near, it was Elkton, West Virginia, or Elkins, West Virginia. It's very near Point Pleasant. And they saw this thing, and they were literally following it on the road. I mean, it was moving in front of them. Now, it wasn't translucent. It looked just like a regular manta ray, size-wise and everything, that was literally flying in front of them. And as they followed it for a couple of miles, this thing veered off the road and went down into a creek below the road. And that's another thing that people have reported. Many times it's very near water. Now, is it associated somehow with a natural manta ray? Well, there are no manta rays that are living in fresh water. But still, I mean, it always seems to be, for the most part, associated a little bit with water. Now, the translucent craft or UFOs or UAPs people are seeing, many times it's near water, but it's somewhat different. And of course, it being translucent, people can see through it. But they're usually very, very big. I mean, they're huge. So, yeah, I don't know what this is. I mean, I have received reports from West Virginia, New York, Indiana in particular, Illinois, And it's funny, it's around areas where we get a lot of winged humanoid sightings too.
Do you think they are connected to the Glimmer Man?
They may be. They may very well be. And that's something I'm looking into more and more now because the phenomena looks very familiar. And we don't know if they're associated with each other. Could be. But that's something I'm looking into.
Right. Right. Now, from what I know of the Glimmer Man, they usually stand between 6 and 8 feet tall, which is, on the smaller yet average Bigfoot size.
Mm-hmm.
They have humanoid proportions like a head, shoulders, arms, legs. They seem to be able to run very fast. They seem to be able to run fast without making noise, like the cracking of broken fallen tree branches or shrubs or anything like that. How does a creature so big move so gingerly?
I don't know. Well, they're probably supernatural to some extent. That's how they're able to cloak. I had many sightings where that is very close to descriptions from the Predator movies where they had the yellow eyes sometimes and they make a clicking sound. I've had several of those. Now, there is some theory that this may have been associated with something that involved J. Allen Hynek in Project Blue Book. And his son was actually part of the screenwriters that wrote the script for the original Predator movie.
Yes.
Now, we've never really been able to make that connection. It was something that's, and, from the very beginning, I thought maybe the Predator movies, many times you get scripts from people who have had encounters and they'll put it into a script, change the story around, but there's some type of connection to it. I believe, and I do have, and in fact, Kyle Filson wrote about it in the book, where that connection, there's a possible connection with Hynek and his son, and they may have both seen it, or he may have talked to him about it. But apparently, it was part of the Project Blue Book phenomena, and but who knows? Who knows? I mean, like I say, pop culture and films and such, they become a big part of a lot of the things that people report in the paranormal and cryptids and UFOs and, aliens and such.
But if you look at the accuracies that a lot of movies have had, and granted, people can get lucky, okay? They can. The hidden bases in Area 51. And if you look at Independence Day, where Will Smith, he crashes and he gets picked up by all the people trying to find a place to hide. And he tells them, let's head this way. There's a base over there. And they're like, no, there isn't. He goes, trust me, there is. And there's a base in the mountain. We've heard about these mountain bases over the years. Or you look at Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where J. Allen Hynek worked on that project too. But that was eerily accurate to what a lot of people have seen over the years. So the fact that J. Allen Hynek's son, and I know it's not Paul, I've met Paul, it's his other brother, and that works in Hollywood because they also did the Hynek series as well, the Project Blue Book series, as consultants. And I know that there was according to Paul, there was conversations around their house with their dad talking to government officials, military officials, alphabet agency officials, police, FBI, that were happening at the dinner table over a coffee and a cigarette back then, because everybody smoked back then. Remember the good old days when your ceilings were that yellow color?
Yeah. 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 I'm old enough to remember a lot of that.
So it's not surprising when you see things like this come out and there is a hint of accuracy in them. I mean, remember Ronald Reagan's allegedly saying to Steven Spielberg at the White House after the viewing of E.T., where he said, you don't really know how accurate this film is. Right?
Yeah. There's a big synchronicity about a lot of this, which may be a big reason why, it might be something to do with the involvement of disclosure and why we're not getting a whole lot and really haven't been. We've been spoon-fed for the most part. Maybe there's always been theories about film and TV kind of presenting this in a kind of different way as opposed to officials going out there and say this happened. Maybe they used the films. And Spielberg has even suggested that to some degree over the years. So yeah, I mean, and you look at Close Encounters of the Third Kind, a lot of that is old ufology stuff that's been out, the reports have been out for years. And there's a few things in that older film that are kind of being realized now. And I don't think for the most part it's people just thinking of the film itself. It's just something that's got some type of synchronicity to what were in the films. And maybe it's kind of a backward way of actual disclosure, but that's all speculation.
It could be. There's a lot of people who actually believe that.
Yeah, I know there are.
That there has been slowly leaking it through Hollywood for years.
Mm-hmm.
But what makes the Glimmer Man so special, in your opinion?
I don't know. We just don't know what they are. And, when you think of what they could be an alien being or, just like in the Predator movies that it literally cloaks itself for whatever reason or doesn't want to be seen and people see it and recognize it and then start reporting it. I guess it's possible. That's why I kind of suggested or maybe ultra-terrestrial. I do believe in the whole ultra-terrestrial theory for the most part. I think there are a lot of things that people see, don't report, but there's something out there besides what we know about. And I think it's expanding more and more. And it really, that was a lot of my premise for my book about my alien disclosure book, where there was a lot of things in there that, we're not going to really get answers to a lot of these things. And we need to start believing people who have actually experienced these things and go, take their cue as to what they experienced and go with that. And a lot of that book was written years ago, almost 8 years ago now, the original book. And a lot of that is starting to come true now.
We got about 90 seconds before we have to go to break. Lon Strickler from phantomsandmonsters.com here on Spaced Out Radio. Lon, your overall estimate of this creature, what do you think brings it out?
I don't know. I don't know. Are they observers? Are they watchers? There have been years and years people talked about, there are watchers out there. There are possible beings that are watching us, trying to figure us out. Maybe that's why they abduct people to some degree. Are they extraterrestrial, ultra-terrestrial aliens, or whatever you want to call them? They could very well be. But they do seem to observe, and they don't really want to be recognized, because that's why they take off for the most part when they realize somebody has actually seen them. But then again, that's kind of the premise with most cryptid activity and alien activity, where people say that they don't really want to be noticed, but they are, and they're being reported on.
Most sightings that I've read up on this, as we only got about 30 seconds or so, they seem to happen a lot in the denser forest, in the trees. It's not like, you're walking through a field in the forest or some sort of open land. It's not where they seem to happen. It seems like the bigger the trees or the denser the trees, this is where they are in their playground.
Yeah. Yeah, most reports are outside. I mean, yeah, I mean, sometimes they're in suburban areas, but for the most part, they're out somewhere in the forest or in a field or something to where it's not near anything that's residential.
All right, Lon Strickler, Strange Days coming up on Spaced Out Radio. When we return, more Glimmerman talk.
This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
You know, it's weird.
Mm.
Again. So I was just closing some Facebook windows, and whose name popped up on my chat feed window? Butch.
He's listening.
Ah, that old prick scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, he pops up on mine every once in a while. I told you I get phone calls from that old number of his, which has been disconnected.
Like, I'm literally looking at his name in my chat feed right now, Butch Witkowski.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is his wife still on his account?
I don't know. I don't think so.
That is so weird.
Yeah.
So friggin' weird. All right, I'm going to put you in the background.
Okay.
Be right back, okay? Be right back, everybody. I am back. Let's bring Lon back in. Lon, how you doing, buddy?
I'm okay.
Skip to Malou, good morning to you over in Denmark. Let's see who else has joined us here. If you haven't already, we would appreciate on YouTube if you could give us a thumbs up. Tell us after the show what you liked about it, what you think of the Glimmer Man. I want to know your opinion. Let me know. Javier, how you doing, buddy? Cryptid 559, I'll always love him. One of the good guys in this field. Excuse me. All right. Let's go back down here. Jeff Bros, how you doing? I got your question. Thank you to T-Bone and Little Cam for our super chats tonight. Greatly appreciate it. And remember, you can get your tickets now. CaribouCon.com, September 18th through 20th in the heart of the Caribou region, 108 Mile Ranch. We have Grant Cameron. We have many more coming on in to speak with you. We'd love it if you go get a ticket today. Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. What do you got for us tonight, Clam? I just had you. There you are. It is Jardinier. Jardinier is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's bring in Lon Strickler from phantomsandmonsters.com. We check it on out. We're getting into the monsters, one especially called Glimmer Man. Lon, thank you for joining us.
Always a pleasure, Dave.
Do me a favor. Tell everybody where they can find your books.
Well, you just go to Amazon and search my name and they'll come up. You can also get them through Beyond the Free Publishing and their website, beyondthefreepublishing.com. And you can go to my website, phantomsandmonsters.com, and order through there as well.
Awesome. Awesome. This Glimmer Man thing, does it scare you?
No. It's probably the least scariest thing that I report on. Be honest with you.
Why is that?
I don't know. It's so, I don't know. I wouldn't say mundane, but it's so non-threatening as opposed to a lot of the other stuff I look into. Though, a lot of times the people who are seeing these things are pretty freaked out because many people have literally saw these things through windows or through patio doors and stuff up in the trees nearby, like they're watching them. And I had a case in Gettysburg, just down the road from me, where a woman had had one of these things show up outside her deck. She saw it through the window during the day, and she didn't know what it was. But yeah, people are freaked out by it. I don't know if I would be, but then again, I don't know. It just seems so non-threatening to me.
Well, let's have a conversation here about a story that you provided for us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is Lon provides reports for us, and I like to read them for our audience. This one says that you wrote, the witness stated that he and his partner were inside their home watching a movie when they heard unusual noises coming from their front porch. Their dogs, along with their neighbors' dogs, began barking aggressively and continuously. Concerned, he ran outside to investigate. The front motion light had been triggered. As he stepped into the yard, he saw something moving rapidly into the darkness, beyond the reach of the light. The dogs were in pursuit, chasing whatever had triggered the disturbance. He called to his partner to bring flashlights and headed into the direction the dogs had run. Then, without warning, all the dogs stopped barking at once. The sudden silence was described as unnerving. There were no visible signs of the animals and no sound of movement. The couple moved towards their nearest neighbor's property, approximately 50 feet from the fence line. At that moment, a tall, slender humanoid figure suddenly ran across the field of view, emerging from the trees on the left side and disappearing behind the barn to the right. The movement was extremely fast. The witness immediately asked his partner to describe what she had seen, seeking validation. She confirmed observing a tall figure, estimated 7 to 8 feet tall. Both described the entity as semi-translucent. They could discern what appeared to be an internal skeletal structure while still seeing the overall outline of its form. It seemed to be wearing a type of suit, though no facial features were distinguishable. The witnesses noticed that the figure reminded him of the internet folklore character known as Slender Man, although he emphasized that what they observed felt physically present and real. Both witnesses were shaken by this event. They did not sleep that night. At sunrise, they walked the property to reassess the scene in daylight. The witnesses reported discovering long stride prints in the ground, which he had photographed. He stated that the stride length was unusual and reinforced his belief that the encounter was genuine. The witness added that this was not his first anomalous experience. Over the previous several years, he had been involved in multiple unexplained events, often with additional witnesses present. He expressed a belief that humanity is not alone, either in the universe or on this planet, and voiced a desire for eventual direct communication. Now, of note, the Temecula encounter adds to the growing body of reports involving tall, semi-translucent humanoid figures observed across North America. If similar activity has been reported in Southern California, particularly involving cloaked entities, elongated stride impressions, or sudden environmental silence, those patterns may indicate a broader phenomena rather than isolated events. Continued documentation and cross-referencing remains essential. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it's just a variation of a lot of these translucent-like beings that people are seeing. Many times, it's all they see is or make out is the outline of a humanoid figure if it starts to move. People have seen these things looking like they are wearing a translucent or invisible type suit. There are a lot of variations on this, and I've kind of put them all together for the most part. Now, some of them are, the ones I have left out either have been seen looking more, I don't know how you want to say it, more real as far as a humanoid, possibly a crawler. And the body style with the crawlers and these things are very similar in outline, other than that these things seem to cloak and they have a translucent appearance.
This one seems a little bit different, though, considering these people said that they actually felt like there was some sort of skeletal bones that were kind of shimmering in between the shimmer.
Yeah, that seems to be part of the phenomena sometimes. I don't know if that's a manifestation thing. It's part of the cloaking they use, or if that's what they actually look like. I don't know if that, how to distinguish that. But for the most part, we're looking at translucent beings that just don't seem to be corporeal for the most part, but they do act like something that is corporeal.
Do you think it is a cloaking mechanism, or is this just some sort of really different encounter?
I don't know. I wish I had more on that. I just don't know. I really don't. And I wish I did have more. And that's why we continue to look into this, because there's just no real answers to it. The way they try to move around and try to keep silent and not be seen, I think they are using some type of mechanism or some type of abilities to appear translucent. But we just don't know that.
Now, a lot of people believe these Glimmer men, before we get to another story,
Mhm.
are Lon some sort of cloaking mechanism by creatures like Sasquatch. Have you
Mhm.
been able to tie the two together?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't. I don't know if it's, there are many times people say they will see a Sasquatch and they will suddenly see anything disappear or kind of blend into the atmosphere, or blend into the scenery. There've been a lot of stories about that ever since Bigfoot's been around. People have recognized Bigfoot or Sasquatch. But I don't know. Of course, the body style is much different than a Sasquatch, because most times these things are seen as slender type beings. The outline of maybe a pale crawler or another thin type of humanoid being. Not a very muscular, huge, hairy creature's outline. So I don't know if they can do that or not. I don't know if maybe it's just another indication that cryptids, for the most part, have different abilities, and they kind of overlap with each other.
Would you designate it as its own cryptid creature?
At this point, I would, unless I find out something different.
Well, let's get to another story that you have for us tonight on this.
Mhm.
This one comes from Oregon. The experiencer states that her first encounter occurred in October 2012 in Portland, Oregon. 2 months prior, her roommate had died following a suicide attempt that resulted in an accidental drowning in the Boise River. Emotionally vulnerable and grieving, she was alone in her bedroom around 11 o'clock when she noticed a translucent mass near her sliding glass door. The entity appeared. Oh, 1 second. Yeah, Microsoft is doing Microsoft things right now. Hold on. All right. Where was I here? There it is. The entity appeared approximately 4 feet tall and 3 feet wide, with an indistinct, jagged upper contour. It had no defined edges, yet it was clearly composed of something. She described it as resembling refracted light broken into thousands of shifting fragments, like prismatic shards moving in static motion. Blue, green, and red hues flickered within it. What stood out most was her reaction. She felt calm. Believing it could be her deceased roommate, she extended her hand. The mass approached and lifted her arm with a measurable but gentle pressure, similar to the sensation of opposing magnets resisting contact. Then it guided her across the room to a poster of a band that both she and her late roommate had admired. When she asked whether it was her friend, the entity, as she interpreted it, raised her arm in confirmation. Attempting to communicate, she held a pen loosely between her fingers as the mass manipulated it. The pen visibly moved across the page, producing indecipherable symbols and geometric patterns. The writing session lasted nearly 2 hours. None of the marks formed a recognizable language. During this time, her new roommate entered the room and witnessed the pen moving. The entity reportedly shrank to the size of a mouse and rested in the experiencer's hand. The roommate reacted with alarm and withdrew. Later that night, the mass expanded and began exerting pressure towards the front door. It led her outside into her vehicle and directing her to drive movements by pressing her hand left, right, forward, or upward. She was guided approximately 1 mile to an industrial area with an abandoned park-like clearing. There, the entity led her to a 6-foot metal structure and encouraged her to climb and jump. She complied, once minimizing impact by lowering herself first. When prompted again to jump from a standing position, She refused. At that moment, doubt set in. She began to suspect the entity was not benevolent. She returned home despite continued pressure on her arm. Back in her bedroom, she dismissed the presence verbally, telling it to leave. The mass reportedly rose 10 to 15 feet in the air outside of her sliding door before disappearing. She observed fleeting peripheral sightings afterwards, but eventually the manifestation ceased. Approximately 6 months later, in April 2013, while traveling north on Interstate 5 from California to Oregon, she encountered the mass again in a Safeway restroom in Ashland, Oregon. This time, it appeared as a 4-foot tall, rectangular but rounded translucent figure standing in the corner. Again, she felt calm. In an impulsive decision, she invited it to follow her. Uh-oh. The entity remained present for the drive and for 2 days inside her Portland residence. She ultimately asked it to leave, expressing that she could not help it. It disappeared and did not return in full manifestation. Years passed. She relocated to Seward, Alaska, living on 5 wooded acres with her boyfriend. After watching the Missing 411 The Hunted series, she confided in him about her experiences with a saran wrap-like translucent entity. Before she revealed details, he responded that he had been seeing similar figures outside their windows. He reports observing multiple translucent forms, usually peripherally, particularly while hunting alone. He describes them as moving alongside him, traversing obstacles such as trees and rocks without difficulty. He had no prior familiarity with the Glimmer Man concept beyond general knowledge of Bigfoot and Skinwalker Ranch. His sightings reportedly began after their relationship started and have increased in frequency since then. The experiencer now feels that the phenomena may be linked to her. Despite extensive searches, no trace was ever found. She wonders if there is any connection between unexplained disappearances and these translucent entities. Of note, for readers who have witnessed translucent, cloaked, or shimmering humanoid figures that resemble refracted light or static distortion, your experience is not isolated. Reports from Oregon, Alaska, and numerous other regions indicate a consistent pattern of interaction, environmental manipulation, and peripheral movement. If you have encountered a similar phenomena, document every detail, including your emotional state, time of day, and environmental conditions. Patterns matter. Your thoughts, Lon?
Yeah, that's just an example of some of the different type of phenomena that are associated with these sightings. And I do have to say, on the West Coast, they do seem a little bit different than what we get other places. In particular, that this it does seem to act like an entity or maybe a ghost-like being. Though I don't think it's related to that. I think it kind of mimics that activity. Now, are these beings able to associate itself with spiritual beings, life force that has moved on, or other types of entities? And many times, people do believe that shadow figures and stuff may also be ultra-terrestrials or maybe extraterrestrials. So I think you kind of put this in the watcher category, in the mimic category. But yeah, we've had a fair amount of sightings like that we don't actually believe are spirit activity and are associated with this Glimmer Man phenomena.
This sounds completely different than most Glimmer Man stories, though.
Yeah, we've kind of put everything that we've gotten into it to try to give people examples of the different activity associated with the phenomena.
But why would this one come in really short, like 4 feet tall, rather than the average 6 to 8 feet tall?
I have no idea. I mean, apparently, and in some cases, we do get this where they seem to be able to shapeshift or morph into different sizes. But for the most part, they don't do that. They normally stay in the same size that they're noticed at. This is just one of a few examples where there are some differences.
Do you think it's a different creature?
I don't think so. I think overall it's very similar to other patterns that we have noticed with this phenomena. Um, it's just like when we talk about the winged humanoids, there are different shapes and sizes and different wing structures and other things associated with that. Are there different races of these beings? Just like with that, we believe they are. Yeah, absolutely. It could be different races where they literally come from that are able to move onto our earth plane and show themselves.
That's pretty incredible. That's pretty incredible. I mean, this just seems so far out of left field. I mean, the way it was so peaceful with her
Mhm.
right at the beginning. And then when she started kind of saying, no, this is making me uncomfortable, how the sudden almost it grew as in a threatening size.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I think these things have an agenda, just like what our thoughts on a lot of our other beings. We talked about extraterrestrials for years having agendas. Are they trying to make their life, their existence more singularity or singular to humans? Is that what abduction's about? I mean, or are they literally humans from the future? Are they evolved humans? Have they been able to uh, develop into something much different than what our corporeal beings or living beings are now? Is it all tied in? It may very well be. I mean, this may very well be something that's similar to what others see and call extraterrestrials, but it's different. And I think there are different categories, but this whole Glimmer Man phenomena, we have tried to put examples to where the patterns are very close. There are just some distinctions in some cases, but for the most part, it's a being that stays the same shape, is noticed, and tries to be unnoticed. And it is what it is.
How much danger do you think she put on herself by inviting it to stay or to follow her?
I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have done that. Now she felt comfortable for some reason. I think her initial indication was that she did think it was her deceased roommate, but then it was using some type of maybe manipulation to try to gain her trust, and that's what it was seeking to do. I mean, that's very similar to spirit activity as well. So yeah, I mean,
That's
is it
Ouija board
associated with
stuff
that?
right there, man.
What's that?
That's Ouija board stuff right there.
Yeah, well, it could very well be associated. Like I've been saying for years now, different aspects of the paranormal seem to be connected somehow, and that may very well be in this, but we just haven't been able to prove that. All we can do is get the examples and put it out there and see what people say about it, and give our best theory as to what it may very well be.
What about the idea that it was following her boyfriend?
Yeah, I don't get that myself, but him being associated with her, I guess it felt like it kind of gave her free rein to go ahead and let him see it as well. That does happen.
Is it because he was an open-minded believer that it was easier to clinch on, you think?
Possibly. He did mention that he saw it while he was hunting, and a wide majority of the cases that we get are from hunters. So maybe it's something he was familiar with, and maybe it's the same being he was seeing in the woods itself. I mean, I don't know. So that would be very coincidental, but it would, I guess it's not beyond the realm.
Well, one of the things that I found very strange about this is you never go hunting alone, ever. You just don't.
When I was a kid, and
if you're walking in the bush, okay, that's not good.
Yeah, when I was a kid hunting,
we're going to break here. We'll talk about
these stories. I wouldn't be out there alone either.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we're clear, buddy. Oh, let me get you off mute here. Hold on 1 second. There we go. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I said this whole phenomenon is an open book. It really is. I mean, we keep looking into it, and it is an active investigation, and we're continuing to look more and more into it. And we do get other examples as we go along, but maybe we'll start getting more answers as to what it is. I hope we do.
I'm wondering if she was summoning in this.
I was thinking the same thing, that she may have manifested this thing somehow. Almost like a poltergeist would be manifested. Maybe the grief from her deceased roommate plays part of that. I don't know. I don't know, but it's close enough. The pattern is close enough to other sightings and other descriptions, is why we included it in this.
Yeah, it's just strange.
When people read my stuff, I want them thinking. I want them to come up with their own theories as to what it is, because when people come up with ideas, that's what that helps the research, as far as I'm concerned.
Right? We got about 3.5 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, the book is full of variables. It really is. But, that's why we wrote it.
Right? All right. John Jackson, how are you? Free your mind. Nice to see you. We got some questions coming up here, too.
Okay.
Oh, my nose is getting stuffy. Excuse me.
My allergies have been crazy, even though I got a foot of snow out there and it's cold as hell. I don't know what the hell's causing all of this.
What the hell are you guys doing with all that blizzard coming in?
Oh, it's nuts. We were lucky. We were lucky because New York, Massachusetts, all up there along the coast, they got nailed.
Yeah.
I'm seeing pictures of people opening their doors and literally had to shovel out of their house.
I've lived in Canada for my entire life. I've never had that happen.
Is that right?
Used to happen in our town, but there's been a shift where all of a sudden about every 30 years there's a little bit of a shift here where we get milder winters,
Mm-hmm.
and then it comes back. When it hits, it comes back.
Yeah.
All right, here we go, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
Here comes the second half of Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you for tuning us in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Here's Lon Strickler from phantomsandmonsters.com, and we're talking about the Glimmer Man here. Before we get to a different story here, Lon, let's get some questions in from our audience. And let's start off with T-Bone here. What is the oldest sighting you have recorded?
Well, actually, we've had some encounters from decades ago where people said they had seen it when they were kids. Maybe back in the 90s, 80s, around there. So this phenomena predates the Predator films and other possible, examples. Just like with the Hynek thing, when I mentioned, they were earlier sightings during Project Blue Book. So what was that, during the 60s and such? So I think this is something like a lot of other phenomena that has really been around, but people just think it's so unusual and so crazy that other people will not believe them. So, I think, of course, with the internet and TV shows and everything else, I mean, it's more mainstream now to talk about these things, and people are opening up and recalling what they've experienced in past years.
Another question from Blue. Do you ever get any cases of entities that appear to be composed of earth-based materials such as rocks, crystals, plants, wood, etc.?
I can't say that I do. I probably have received something in the past, but I just don't recall it. That's pretty unusual, getting something like that. I do know a possible Bigfoot, and I say possible, where people say they look like it may have been a something composed of rocks. I don't know what tribes are, but some of the native people talk about these stone men that are literally Sasquatch-like beings that appear to be comprised of rocks and boulders. I've heard that stone man moniker several times throughout the United States, actually. So, but that would be the only example that I can recall.
Oh, goodness. Lon, might the Glimmer Man shimmer or the Glimmer shimmer be in coordination with a craft?
It could be. Yeah, very. That I've thought about that. It very well could be. Maybe there is maybe there's a connection, like a bio connection between the craft and the entity itself. That they both are able to, to disguise themselves, cloak themselves. Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility, I believe.
Jeff is wondering, which monster do you fear most? How about the black apparition people see at the end of their beds?
Well, the shadow people are pretty scary. And honestly, the cases that I have been involved with have to do a lot with these entities manifesting, which I do believe they're ultra-terrestrial beings. I don't believe they have anything to do with any type of spirit or any type of living energy that passed away, and the remnants were these beings. I think they live off of negative energy, dysfunction, sickness. As far as which monster I fear most, and I've told Dave this before, I don't want to ever come across a cryptid canine, especially an upright one.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. I don't want to either. Problem is, I know it's going to happen. I don't know when, but I know it's going to.
Well,
Let's go to Jaquetta. Could Glimmerman be a time traveler?
absolutely. They could be absolutely a time traveler, an evolved human type species that has been able to develop an ability to do these certain things. I think a lot of the extraterrestrial beings or alien beings that people see and describe are literally time travelers that have come back, maybe trying to realize something they used to be able to do as humans closer to what we look like and act like. And they're trying to study us, and I think that has a lot to do with why people are abducted. I think, this comes through many experiencers I've dealt with who have been told or believe that they are looking for something that they lost at some point through evolution, and that they're coming back to find it or to get answers.
Mikey is asking, Lon, in the state of Pennsylvania, there have been many sightings or reports of an albino Bigfoot. How many reports have you received, and do you think it is the same one?
There have been a couple of Bigfoot, especially up in the northwest part of the state. There's a infamous photograph of one, but most of the albino cryptids that we run across here in Pennsylvania are actually cryptid canines. We've had several of those.
Really?
Or not deer, albino deer that have strange similarities that just are not similar to actual, really, regular deer. I mean, so I don't know. I mean, but as far as Bigfoot, there's only a few examples of that. It's mostly cryptid canines.
When you mention cryptid canines, Butch Witkowski, when he was on, he always used to separate the cryptid canines from the dogmen. Do you do the same?
Yeah. He and I both believe that the dogmen were quadrupeds for the most part, and the dogmen were upright lichens or upright canines, bipedals.
So what's the difference between the two? Like size-wise, or are there one bigger than the other?
Well, usually they're very muscular, but the uprights are usually much taller, more aggressive, if you want to call it aggressive, much scarier. The quadrupeds many times look like just an oversized hyena with the slope back and the mottled coat, the mottled fur, and different browner, not as dark, and fully furred itself. But they're quadrupeds, and they don't go up, they don't stand up bipedally, but they usually have heads that look more like a wolf and got a really thick mane.
Right.
But they look a lot like body size, like a hyena. Very muscular too.
Wow. All right, let's get to your next story here. The witness was standing on his apartment balcony in Burlington, Kansas, which provided a clear, elevated view of a smooth leftward bend in the road that runs past the town's river dam. The evening appeared uneventful until a vehicle approached the curb. According to the observer, the driver navigated the initial jog to the left without difficulty. Suddenly, the vehicle jerked sharply to the right, as though the driver was attempting to avoid striking something positioned in the roadway to the left side. The car veered off the pavement and into a ditch. The driver exited cautiously and began looking towards an area just inches into the grass, approximately 25 feet from where his car had come to rest. At first glance, the witness believed he was seeing a dense swarm of gnats, or possibly dust suspended in the air. However, the formation held its position and appeared upright. The driver removed his phone and took several photographs, His body language suggested alarm. He quickly retreated to his vehicle, apparently contacting someone for assistance. Approximately 5 minutes later, a truck arrived to pull the vehicle from the ditch. Throughout this time, the animal or the anomaly remained stationary. The witness described it as maintaining an upright human-like posture, although no facial or anatomical details were discernible. The form was clearly defined as against the background. The headlights from the stranded vehicle did not pass cleanly through the anomaly. Instead, the light appeared to distort, bending around it rather than traveling in a straight line. The figure was translucent, similar to fogged or lightly smoked glass. The observer could see through it, though not clearly. Notably, no visible shadow appeared on the ground surrounding the form. After the vehicle was removed and both drivers departed, the anomaly lingered briefly before vanishing completely. The witness later speculated that such entities may be capable of altering their physical state, becoming transparent or shimmering as they move in and out of our perceptual reality. The referenced biblical accounts of sudden disappearances, including Philip's in the book of Acts, as possibly parallels to instantaneous relocation or dimensional transition, which with acknowledging this as a personal theory, he believed these beings may be able to shift between realms. Your thoughts, Lon?
Yeah, this is received from an investigator in Kansas who sent this to me, and he had no idea what it was, so that's what he contacted me. I think he searched and found it on my website. And many times these are seen with, on the road or vehicles at night. And I have had a couple of sightings where people have described something very similar to that, to where a headlight would be seen through the being, but it seemed to go around it. And it was kind of distorted and showing light inside the being itself. So, yeah, again, it's just another example of what people are reporting. And this investigator, he kind of took the biblical approach to it. I didn't necessarily put everything he put in there into the report, but he believed that it was probably some type of demonic creature or such, but he wasn't sure, so that's why he contacted me.
I meant to tell you this earlier because of some information that you just said about this kind of, with light being able to kind of disperse everywhere and not pick certain things up. Do you remember the photo I sent you from our local barn of the guy on the stairwell?
Mm-hmm.
So recently, I have been trying to get AI to make him move using AI programs, because I've been doing some little videos about this. And you know what? AI cannot pick him up.
Well, that'll tell you something, shouldn't it?
It is the weirdest thing, my man. The weirdest thing that I cannot get AI to pick up that photo of him. It won't even zoom in on the stairwell.
Yeah.
And when I say who's the man on the stairwell, it doesn't compute. Like it can't read his face. It can't read his arm, his hand that are there on the stairwell.
Huh. That is interesting. That is interesting.
Right?
Yeah, that's interesting.
I can actually, give me 2 seconds. I can actually show you this.
Okay.
We got a little bit of time. So for our radio audience, I'm just going to go to Chat GPT here. And if you want to check this out, you could go to our YouTube channel and check out tonight's show, and you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. I'll try and describe it as best as possible here. Okay, so I'm going to go over to Chat GPT on a share screen here, Lon.
Mhm.
Okay, so as you can see, the screen is blank. What are you talking about? So I'm going to add a photo. So let's go over to Haunted 108 file. I'm going to bring up the barn photo. Okay. And I'm going to say, can you zoom in on the man on the stairwell? Okay. So the photo will pop up. It'll analyze the image, which it's doing right now. It's going to end up creating the photo as we give it a minute or two here. Because right now it's analyzing the photo. Like normally AI is like snap of a finger. So you can see it's zooming in on the stairwell. Yes, it's showing the face. Okay. It's showing the face of the ghost. You can see the arm. You can see the hand of the gentleman on the ghost on the stairwell. But if it was really moving into the man, the figure on the stairwell, it would zoom in close and not the middle of the stairwell, whereas the man is at the bottom of the stairwell. Right? So if I go to Grok, okay, I go to Grok and do the exact same thing. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to add a photo. Where is the photo? Here, add an image. I'm doing this wrong right now. Let's add in and then I will type in, make the man on the stairs, on the stairwell move. I'll just wait for this to load up here. But it is the weirdest thing. They will not recognize it. It will create another ghost. Like it will not see the man on the stairwell. And yet you could see the image of this fake ghost walking right by the man on the stairwell.
All right.
You can see his face. Okay. You can see his face right there. You can see his face walk right beside him.
I tell you what, Dave, send the original photo to me.
Yeah.
I've got my own AI program that me and someone else developed.
Yeah.
And I'll see if I can get a good prompt to run it through and see what happens.
It is completely weird that AI will not recognize the ghost in the photo.
Yeah. Yeah, normally it would pick that up, but let me try it out and see if I can come up with something.
I'll send you the original.
Okay.
I'll send you the zoomed in one.
Okay. Yeah, I'll see what I can do. That is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. It's completely weird.
Yeah, it is weird.
Completely weird. We got about 5 minutes to go here before we have to say goodnight. Let's get to signs of life here. Can shadow entities or shadow people be considered glimmermen?
The translucency that we see with the Glimmer Man does not translate into what people consider to be shadow people, hat man, or anything like that. This is an entirely different thing. Now, that being said, I wouldn't discount it entirely. They may actually be something very similar to that. Again, this is an active investigation. We don't have all the answers, and I am hoping that we can come up after this first book, that we can come up with another one with more answers to more phenomena that we receive and more reports. maybe we will come to a conclusion that there may very well be something connected to that as far as the shadow people or other entities that exist. But at this point right now, I can't really give you a determination as to what I think about. I don't know if it is or not. I can't be negative or positive about that.
All right, Glimmer Man, we got one more here. I think we can fit this in. Yeah, let's just do it. What the hell? We only got about 3 minutes here, but I'll quickly paraphrase this one.
Okay.
This is 100% true, and it's tough for me to share because every time I've tried to tell someone about it, I get laughed at. So, I recently came across an article about a woman who was hunting and saw an invisible or cloaked creature that she described as being almost like the predator from the movie of the same name. I read her story and saw the picture she took of this predator. Personally, I think the image is a combination of lens flare from the sun and close-up possibility of her face or something similar. However, I'm not dismissing her story. In fact, I relate to it because I too have had a similar encounter with what is prompted me to see if anyone else has had an encounter of something like the predator in the woods. Now, my encounter. I was about 5 years old. I was playing at the edge of the woods behind my grandmother's house. I played there often, and Grandma kept an eye on me from the kitchen or living room, as the house had huge windows that faced the woods. She would come out every once in a while to check on what was up. I was obsessed with digging in the dirt and collecting unusual rocks and arrowheads that littered the land where my grandmother lived. Anyways, the day I remember picking up a spot to dig, I had been out there for quite a while and I had a pretty decent sized hole going when something caught my eye up in the tree. It was hard to explain, but it looked almost like a heat wave coming off a branch. I distinctly remember it was fall. I was wearing my pink jacket, and I thought my mom would be upset if I had dirt on the sleeves from digging. There were so many leaves scattered on the ground. As I stared at this heat wave, I realized it had a human shape. At 5 years old, I was wondering why there was an invisible man in the tree. I felt scared, but also unsure of what to do. Then it started moving and making a faint clicking sound. That's when I decided I shouldn't be seeing this, and I quickly ran back to the house. My grandmother noticed that I was shaken, and I remember telling her that I had just seen an angel. In my 5-year-old mind, I couldn't think of anything else it could be. I'd never heard of aliens, ghosts, or monsters, so to me, it had to be an angel. Fast forward when I was about 12. By this time, the encounter was far from my mind. I love watching sci-fi movies, and one day my dad rented a movie called Predator. While watching it with him, the first time I see the invisible cloaked predator, I was terrified. All the memories came rushing forward. He had told me it was fake. Back then, it wasn't like today when I could just Google it. I had no access to the internet. Fast forward to the year 2004, I was an adult with 3 small children. After recently separating from my husband, I moved with my kids to an apartment in the town next over. These apartments were all single-level duplexes, and there were 5 buildings in total. I lived in the very last apartment of the previous building. Although the flats were considered in town, they were situated on the outskirts. I was a smoker, but I didn't smoke in the apartment because of the kids, so I often stepped out onto the back porch. One night, I was late doing laundry after the kids had gone to bed, and what do I see? Or hear, pardon me. I hear the faint clicking sound. I'd seen a groundhog in the ditch a few days earlier. I looked there thinking it might be out again. An outside light near the playground, dimly in the yard, right by my porch. I turned on the porch light. I really didn't know what was going on, not seeing or anything, but the clicking noise persisted. And then I saw it. An invisible figure I had seen when I was 5, with a distorted humanoid shape, crouched on a branch with one arm wrapped around the tree trunk. I couldn't believe it. All those years ago, and it came back. Thank you, Lon Strickler from phantomsandmonsters.com. We will talk to you at the end of March. Coming up next, we have Swamp Dweller and the Wizard.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Lon, you're the best, buddy. You are the best. Thank you very much.
No problem.
We'll do it again next month.
Okay.
All right, buddy.
Yeah, send me that image, and I'll see what I can do with it.
Already did.
Okay, sounds
All right,
good.
brother. You take care.
Okay, you too. Bye.
Bye. Phantomsandmonsters.com, Lon Strickler, one of the good guys in this field. I love the guy. Absolutely love him. He is one of the best. I'll be right back, everybody. Here is my schedule coming up. All right. I am back. Let's bring in the wizard. There he is.
There I is. I'm going with the messy hair look tonight. Hope it looks good.
Going
I
with
could just roll out of bed.
Holy cow. Excuse me here for a second. Sorry, everybody. Got about a minute to go, Wizard. Swamp Dweller will be about 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Okie dokie.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if you also want to send me that picture you're trying to enhance, I've got some tools and stuff too.
Sure. I'll send it right now. There you go, buddy.
Thank you.
Thank you tonight to Walter, T-Bone, and Little Cam for our super chats. We greatly appreciate your love, guys. Thank you very, very much. Here we go. We're into hour 3 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We got Swamp Dweller and the Wizard coming up here momentarily. But first, I want to say hello to all of you listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. It is Jardiniere. Jardiniere is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. Hello, Swamp Dweller. The following event happened when I was 14 years old. I am now 48. I have never told anyone what happened that day so long ago, but I struggle every day to forget this. I was born and raised in Puerto Rico, in a town very close to El Yunque rainforest. My friends and I always used to go fishing and explore parts of El Yunque. On this day, me and my friend Jose went swimming and fishing for some time since the school was out. We took our usual route on our bikes. We hid them and continued on foot up the mountain to the creek where we swam all the time. We had a blast with some tourists that found the stream. The tourists eventually left and we stayed behind. We started to do some fishing close by when we realized it was getting dark very quickly. We did not bring flashlights with us because we had forgotten, and around that time there were no cell phone. We struggled to find our way back. We were falling and sliding all around. We came to a stop and we heard trees and branches snapping ahead of us. We thought it could be wild pigs or dogs. So we climbed one of the trees and stayed silent to see what it was. A few minutes passed and Jose got down from the tree. He was trying to join me where I was. I can see him in the darkness due to the moonlight shining when he just disappeared. It was like he was swept off his feet by something. I kept quiet. Maybe I was afraid, but I stayed silent. I didn't even attempt to try to find him. I looked from the tree I was in until I heard him call my name. For some reason, something inside of me told me not to answer. I then saw him run past my tree, and 5 seconds later I listened to a commotion nearby, and he started screaming for help. I was petrified. I didn't know what to do. I was a child watching my best friend getting hurt. I blamed myself for not trying to help. I was just stuck in a trance of fear. I can hear him being dragged away by something in the darkness. I stayed on the tree for hours until the next day's light. I ran down the mountain without looking back. I grabbed my bike and went straight home. My parents were not home because they had gone to work. They did not know I was even missing the night before, Jose's parents alerted the police, and I said that he was not with me the night back. I was afraid they would blame me for what happened to him. They searched for days, and on the fourth day they found him, or what was left of him. His belly was torn open. His eyes and tongue were missing, and police said there was nothing indicating animal predation. So what happened to him? I think about this all the time. Maybe if I had helped him, he'd still be here. Why was I such a coward?
Thank you to Swamp Dweller for a creepy story. If you want more just like that, head on over to YouTube, type in Swamp Dweller, hit subscribe, ring that bell. Thousands of stories for you to listen to each and every time. So make sure you go check it on out. From the swamp to the stars, it's time for the Wizard and the UFO Report.
Space Out Radio presents a UFO report. The UFO wizard makes his presence known. Just ready to go.
Here we go. We got Josh Rutledge, the Wizard, in his final week on Spaced Out Radio. He is having some stuff going on that is going to eat up a lot of his time. So we're going to shed a tear for you tonight, my friend.
I appreciate that, man. It's been fun. I think it's been like, what, 4 months or something like that since I
4 or 5
joined?
months, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was just around Halloween or something like that when I came on. So, yeah.
Well,
it's been fun,
for us.
and I really appreciate the community, the chat room. Everybody's just been great. They were immediately accepting of me, and I just really appreciate everybody. So, yeah.
Well, just know when life settles down and slows down a little bit, you always got a home to come on here anytime you want, brother.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate that. And if something major breaks and you want to throw a panel together, you can always have me on, and I'll once in a while is great. So
I hear that. Well, we're glad that we got a few months with you here, buddy, and
appreciate that.
I'm close to locking up your replacement. I'm not going to say who it is just yet, but I'm pretty close. Well, 98% there.
Is it Tulsi Gabbard?
I wish. She is my political crush. Yeah, she really is. I don't know. Maybe it's the white streak in her hair. Or she's just gorgeous. And a veteran. She's tough as nails. I'm sure she could kick my butt 100 times over. Yeah, I'd probably be okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, a good hockey boxing, situation.
Sure.
Yeah.
Ever.
I know what you're going to dream about tonight.
Why not? Why not? There's been a lot of news recently regarding last week's events with Donald Trump announcing that he was going to let the UFO files go on. And there's been a lot of criticism on this. A lot of people believing that it is a cover up from everything from the Epstein files to what is going on in Iran or Russia, Ukraine. I mean, have we got any more clarity going on here?
We don't. I mean, I have not seen anything that provides any more clarity. I've seen, people like Tulsi Gabbard, tweeted kind of, saying, look, this is just another example of transparency. But I have not seen anything from anyone in relation to a timeline. I did watch something from this is not official from the government, obviously, but I watched something from Russ Coulthart that said he basically said that unless the president puts it out as like an executive order, that him truthing it doesn't really mean anything. And I'm pretty sure that's true. Like, I don't think you can truth policy. So I think, if he really is directing people to do it, it some sort of a more official direction, not just a truth post. But that's the only thing I've really seen that is an attempt to provide some additional clarity on, his truth posts towards the end of last week.
It's been interesting because Pete Hesketh was asked, when he took the department or the Secretary of War position, did he ever think that he would be, disclosing about UFOs? And he kind of laughed. He goes, "No, this wasn't on the bingo card," he said, when he took the job. And I kind of had to laugh at it, but he said very emphatically that he was excited to get into this and excited to really draw a differential of what is going on and what the government knows about this. I mean, yeah, we're going to hear all of the right words. We always do with politicians, but like you said, what can they release? That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Well, and it, not just what can they release, but what do they have to release? I mean, we all we talked about it last week. We've all speculated for a long time. Different folks across the UFO community have speculated that the U.S. government got out of the business of UFOs a long time ago, and instead turned everything over to private corporations. I mean, if they let's just assume that the U.S. government has been officially in a daily kind of administrative capacity out of the business of UFOs since the closing of Project Blue Book, then that's 50 plus years of private industry being involved, and there's potentially nothing that the U.S. government can disclose that would tell us anything that private industry knows. Even if private industry has provided reports back to the U.S. government on what their findings are, I don't even know if they would be able to disclose that, because that would be the intellectual property of private industry. So it honestly, I'm going to say what might be an unpopular opinion, but it honestly feels like an empty promise and just another distraction from other things that are going on, because we just don't have, there's been no follow-up so far, other than Hexeth laughing about potentially disclosing things. Like we talked about last week, he could easily say, "Yep, Arrow's on it. We turned our stuff over to Arrow." And then Arrow go before Congress and they'll say, "Oh, we can only talk about it in a skiff. Here's our document dump," and everything is redacted. It just, I don't know. It just doesn't feel like I've seen a lot of people posting on various social media sites encouraged that this is going to be the thing, that it's all going to just spill out. And, we're all going to be swimming in it like Scrooge McDuck. But I just honestly don't think that's the case.
In your opinion, what is the reality? What does it come down to?
The reality I think I have to back up and say that I'm going to reiterate something that I've said probably enough times that if I had a free subway card or something, I could get enough punches for a sub or something. I mean, but the fact remains is that we all continue to talk about disclosure as a big word, disclosure, but no one has really defined what that is. So if Trump comes forward and says, even if he does an executive order, "Hey, Department of War, go release all these files," is that disclosure? If they dump 5 million files that have the words, the phrase UFO in them, is that disclosure? We are marching towards a goal that we have not defined. And until we define it, we will never know if we've reached it, if we're almost to it, or if we're thousands of miles away from it.
I think you said that perfectly, because we are looking at numerous parts of disclosure. There's disclosure of history. There's disclosure of technology. There's disclosure of non-human intelligence. There's disclosure of science. There's disclosure of potential time travel that they've talked about. They're the ones who brought it up, not you or me, not the UFO community. What about dimensional travel? That's another disclosure. Where are they coming from in space? If they're coming from space, that's another disclosure. What kind of species are they? Are there multiple species? That's another disclosure. What about, we haven't even gotten into the human interaction with them, with contact and abductions. Those are other disclosures. And so I agree with you on this. There are way too many words of disclosure that are being held as one giant capital letter word.
Mm-hmm. It's, and I think it's also unfortunate that we've seen all these little institutes and things that have spun up, in the last 2 years or so, like the Paradigm Institute and National something in UFO studies. We got the Scientific Coalition folks. They've been around for a while, but like everybody who's jumped on the we're working towards disclosure bandwagon seems to have no interest in defining a goal, milestones. How do we gauge how far we've come and how far we have left to go? And I'm gonna, you gotta call the duck a duck. It really feels like it's in their best interest not to define it, because they can continue to receive funding and interest and so on and so forth. If there's no end that's been defined, then there's no end to the Paradigm Institute. We'll never reach disclosure. Therefore, they'll always be working towards disclosure. They've created a situation that perpetuates the need for their organization.
Let's hear from Tulsi Gabbard.
Thanks to President Trump's leadership and his day one executive orders, we've been focused on transparency and accountability. First, declassifying over 500,000 government documents in a single year. We exposed the Russia collusion hoax, this fabricated so-called intelligence engineered by the Obama administration to orchestrate what was essentially a coup, using lawfare manufactured investigations and impeachments and harassment, subverting the will of the American people in the deep state's attempt to delegitimize the president and the American people who elected him. Now, thanks to President Trump's leadership, his day
information in that post.
Orders, we've been focused on transparency.
There we go.
She just said, really her post is that text at the top, which is
it says,
declassifying.
On day one of his presidency, at POTUS promised to deliver accountability. And then it goes on to say 500,000 documents were released in 1 year alone. JFK, RFK, MLK, Amelia Earhart, Russia hoax, weaponization, and soon files related to the alien and extraterrestrial life, UAPs, and UFOs. Notice, Josh, and I'm not going to, I know I have bugged you a lot about this. We've kind of debated on this, but are you surprised at how much over the last few days they have separated UAP from UFO?
No, because they're buzzwords and they're going to get picked up by algorithms and spread around the internet.
So you don't think it has anything to do with the separation of the two?
I don't think they understand the separation that you and I talk about.
I think they do. That's just me. But
yeah, I was thinking about it the other day. I wrote a little blog article talking about how I think UFO still has a place. I think it should be a subclassification of UAP. But I don't know that I don't know that Tulsi Gabbard or most of like Pete Hegseth, I don't know that they understand that when most people in the UFO community talk about UFOs, they're talking about extraterrestrial or similar craft. But when they hear UAP, that's just orbs and things.
Yes.
So I just I don't know. I could be wrong, but they just don't seem to really be that invested in the topic. None of what I've heard from anybody in Trump's cabinet, and they're speaking on the topic, would give me indication that they have any familiarity with anything below the surface level that you can read about on the New York Times article or on a Russ Coulthart show.
Well, let's listen to Pete Hegseth on this, okay? Because we have a little bit of time here. And I want to get your opinion of this. So just bear with me here. And we're going to play Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, for the first time talking about UFOs.
You talk a lot about space superiority. How much of that involves offensive weapons in space?
Well, I think we have to realize that every domain could potentially be kinetic. To put it in military speak, it could be offensive or defensive. That's not what we want to have to do, but you have to be prepared to defend and you have to be prepared to be proactive. So we're looking at all options in the domain of space. A lot of things, a lot of capabilities we won't talk about with cameras and microphones. But it's when I say dominance, it means we're going to maintain our eyes in the sky no matter what. And hopefully it doesn't come to that, but we're going to need to be able to protect our assets.
3 days ago, President Trump directed you to begin the process of identifying and releasing the UFO and UAP files. I mean, did you ever think that you would be the Secretary of War in charge of potentially declassifying extraterrestrial life to the American people and the world?
Did not have that on my bingo card at all.
And are you prepared to do that now?
Of course. I mean, we've got our people working on it right now. I don't want to oversell how much time it will take. Right? We're digging in. We're going to be in full compliance with that executive order, eager to provide that for the president. So there'll be more coming on that as far as the process of what we'll do.
And what sort of time frame? Do you have any sense for how long this is going to take?
I don't have a time frame for you yet, but stand by.
The Director of National Intelligence said today that her office was going to begin the process of declassifying reports on extraterrestrial and alien life. I'm going back to these types of questions because the American people have wanted to know the answer to these questions for a very long time. And so I'm just curious if you think that, one, if this is the beginning of disclosure for the American people and the world, and two, if the Pentagon is actually prepared to start declassifying some of these things that might really shed some answers on this instead of keeping it secret.
We'll work with the DNI as we always do. I'm heartened to hear that she's doing that. President Trump has been committed to disclosure on lots of levels, and he's made it clear that he wants answers on this. He's given us a responsibility to do it. We're going to be a part of delivering that. It'll be a deliberative process. We want to make sure expectations are going to be high, right? I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, so we're going to take a little time to make sure we assess what this should look like and deliver for the president, for the American people. Thank you.
Now, there's something I noticed there as just as a journalistic view, as we only got about 30 seconds. And that is when she kept pressing him, he backed off. He went to the safety quotes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Right at the beginning. And kudos to this journalist for actually going at him and asking follow-up questions rather than just the prototypical ask the one question, move on to the next topic. Good for her. And Josh, I'm going to get your response to what Pete Hegseth said when we return on Spaced Out Radio. The disclosure movement, is it moving forward or are we on a merry-go-round right now?
This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
All right, buddy, we're clear.
Cool. I knew you were going to make me wait.
I'm sorry, brother.
I was watching the clock and I was like, yeah, we're not going to get to me. That's all right.
I know. You can blame me on this one.
I'll just have all the time. So if we've got a few minutes, bring up those pictures I sent you from ChatGPT.
Sure. Let me just,
since y'all were talking about it before.
Let me just go like this here.
Or
it looks like they've that it doesn't look like the image.
No. So what I first said was, in this photo is a figure in low light standing behind the railing on the stairs. Zoom and enhance on this figure. Do not add anything to the image. That first one, or sorry, that's the second one I sent you. The first one I sent you was even creepier. And that's what it gave me first. Then I reloaded the picture and I said, only zoom in on the figure. Do not enhance. And then the second one is what I sent you again. So it did see the figure. It just can't follow my instructions not to enhance the photo. Like, don't add.
So that's the original photo we're talking about.
Yeah. Which, to me, and this may be pareidoia, I see like a furry face.
If you go to this photo here, and then you were to zoom in on that, you'll actually see a giant scar coming down his forehead in between, like towards the in between his eyebrows.
Let me just maximize this on my 35-inch screen.
Oob to Joe's Main, you've got ghosts. Little Mikey, thank you, brother.
Yeah,
Appreciate
I see what you're talking about, the scar.
Yeah. T-Bone, I think you've got a hat trick for gifted memberships tonight. 4 of them. You got 4 times. Wow, buddy. 5 times. Holy cow. You're a rock star tonight, T-Bone.
It's Frankenstein's monster, is what it is.
He's crazy. We got one more picture of him. Let me see if I can bring it up here. 2 seconds. This one's a little bit more difficult for him to see, or for us to see. You really have to pay attention. It's not going to show.
I see the side profile of the face. Like you walking sideways, what it looks like to me.
Yeah. No, that one's not going to work. That one is not going to work. Maybe you can enhance it on your end. You see the 2 dots?
Yeah.
Now go up to about 1 o'clock and zoom in. You'll actually see his face in the dark.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I see it already without doing that. Is this at the place where you're doing the tours?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. T-Bone, you're the furthest thing from an asshole. You don't need to apologize for anything.
How many assholes do I have on this ship?
I know. T-Bone, you asshole. I'm teasing. Remember Ferris Bueller's Day Off? You, sir, are an asshole.
Well, what's my quote from, Dave?
What?
The one I said. How many assholes do I have on this ship?
I don't know. What is that?
You don't know what that's from?
No.
Spaceballs.
Oh, God. I haven't seen Spaceballs in years. That's right. All right. We got 10 seconds. Thank you to Little Cam, T-Bone, Walter, Benno, and Mikey for the super chats. Thank you for T-Bone for gifting the hell out of our chat room for memberships. Here we go, everybody. Here is the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Let's get right to the UFO report with Josh Rutledge. My name is Dave Scott. We're talking about Secretary of War Pete Hegseth finally getting grilled about the UFO subject. Josh, your opinion?
Yep. A couple things I thought were interesting. Number one, he said, "We will do everything we need to do to comply with that executive order." But an executive order has not been issued. So far, it's just been a truth statement or a truth post. I think that's interesting because legally, they may not be allowed to do anything unless there's an executive order. Second point, he said he's got people working on it already. They're working on it. That could be Arrow.
I think you're right on that. I think you're totally right on that.
So he could give answers that seem supportive, but not actually do anything. I don't know if that's what it is, but I mean, he really could do that. And he may have done that.
Here's one of the things that if you go on and watch this footage, the young journalist was asking him multiple follow-up questions for it. That is something that we're not used to in this field, is the multiple follow-up questions. Good on her for doing that. I got to find out her name because I thought it was kind of impressive. But you could see in his body language and his tone that Hegseth was not liking the questions. And when she kept pressing him on it, she actually says, well, there's a lot of American people who have a lot of interest in this subject and would like some answers. And you could see him trying to walk away, but not wanting to be rude and just, blitz out right before she's finished asking questions. So I think it's kind of impressive that she kept going at him doggedly on this. What's your thoughts?
No, yeah, I mean, she did an excellent job as a reporter. I don't know if she also has an interest in the topic. That may have been a driving factor for her to keep asking the questions because she has a vested interest in knowing the outcome. If that's the case, I think that's great. If it's not the case, then I applaud her even more because then she was just being a great journalist, regardless of her own personal outcomes that she was seeking.
I would agree with you on that. I would agree. What do you think of Hegseth's body language?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. He turned him when the interview began. He was turned in a way that his the front part of his body was directly facing her. He was engaged in the interview. After she asked about the UFO topic, his body shifted to be really directed more diagonal on, which meant that he was no longer fully engaged in the conversation. And then, like you said, he did several times take what looked to be kind of like like when you're on your phone with your grandma and you're like, okay, I'm going to let you go now. And you're trying to hang the phone up. And by the way, kids these days, I don't think they do this for the phone. They don't do the thumb and the finger. They just put their palm against their face. Anyways, it was kind of like he was trying to get out of the conversation, like you said, without just walking away or saying this interview's over or whatever the case may be. But yeah,
I found it very, very intriguing. Said a lot. Doesn't want to talk about it.
Did you see or read the official NASA response?
No, give us this one.
So I don't have it verbatim, but I'm going to summarize it for you. And the summarization is that NASA has always been forthcoming with all of their data, and they will continue to be forthcoming with all of their data. The director of NASA has seen, and I'll quote this part, many strange things, but none of them have led them to believe that they are extraterrestrial or alien in nature. So that it was a big, like, 2 paragraphs that they put out, but that was the gist of it. Them saying, hey, we've been giving you our data. You can continue to have our data. We don't see anything. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Well, that's just typical NASA.
Right. I mean, that's what everybody was kind of talking about on Reddit and stuff when I was reading about it, is like, that's the expected response from NASA.
Yeah. NASA tends to think that they've never done anything wrong. Their astronauts come out and talk about UFOs. Oh, that never happened. Nothing ever happens. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. I mean, I will say that the scientists at NASA, if all scientists were to collectively say, we don't want to be represented as hard, like people with like sticks up their butt type situation. We don't want to be represented that way. Then they picked the wrong people at NASA to be in front of the camera, because that's what I always feel like. It's like they turn their nose up to anybody who doesn't have PhD at the end of their name. They talk down to people when they do press conferences. They include a lot of technical terminology and things when they're giving a press conference or a statement to the general public. It's like they want you to think they're smarter than you, and they make they take a really hard stance, or they take a really hard attempt at trying to make it look like they're not doing that, but in the process, that's exactly what they do.
Well, that's what a lot of people who are very brilliant do, is the minute they're kind of caught off guard, they get snarky, and then they start using a lot of big words to make themselves seem more intelligent than us regular folk. You know what I'm saying?
Us
like
common people.
Like when you're having a conversation with me and you got to put me in my place.
That's right. That's right, Dave.
Mm-hmm. Start using words like truculence.
Yeah. That could even be a made up word, and I would have no idea.
Well, here's the big thing about this. It's a subject that isn't going away. Everybody's going to have a response to this, because I think in the end they're all kind of shaking in their boots a little bit for what they're going to cover up and what they're going to deploy. Like when I was on the air with WPHT in Philadelphia with Walter M. Sterling earlier this evening, he asked me, what do we expect? I think we're going to get a lot of weather balloons. We're going to get a lot of drones. We're going to get a lot of garbage bags. We're going to get some orbs that can't be explained. And we are going to get a lot of maybe technology. Technology that's from us. But anything outer space, I don't think we're getting.
You're more optimistic. I don't think we're going to get anything. So
we're going to get all the, I think we're going to get all the UAP stuff, or a handful of the UAP stuff, but we're not going to get the UFO news that we want.
Well, again, like we talked about in the first half hour, even if we do, even if within a bunch of file dumps, there is some picture that just cannot be explained. All the debunkers get a hold of it. They can't explain it adequately. It just cannot be explained. Is that disclosure? Because if I give you a bunch of old clothes, and inside those old clothes is $1,000, did I give you the $1,000, or did I just forget to take it out of the old clothes? And for a lot of people, disclosure means the government consciously making a statement, we're not alone, or we have retrieved craft, or whatever, a myriad of other things that they want the government to say. So if it happens to be scattered or hidden in a file and you come across it, is that disclosure, or is that just the government, they missed one when they were scrubbing the files?
I don't know. I don't have an answer to that, my friend.
By the way, if I ever give you a bunch of clothes and you find $1,000 in there, you got to give me at least half back.
I'd give it all to you back, but that's the kind of guy I am. Because you haven't
for
really
your trouble, I'd
me.
give you $10 off.
You just haven't really harassed me about the hockey game on the weekend, so that's a win for me right now.
I didn't want to rub it in, so
you have to. You have to a little bit. See, that's the point of hockey, is you gotta rub it in a little bit.
I mean, I did hear on the radio that it was US 2 and Canada 0. Is that right?
1 in overtime.
Okay. I think they might have been talking about another sport in addition to hockey.
No.
But that probably doesn't matter to you.
No. It still hurts, man. I'm not gonna lie. I'm hurting. I am hurting.
I did hear that the person who was going to win the winning puck missed it by that much.
Oh, that happened a lot during that game. Goal. I'll correct you there.
Goal.
I got something interesting for you here.
Okay.
So one of the media outlets is called the Wow Signal. It's a news outlet. And I am a part of the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance.
So am I.
And did you take your vote?
I did not. I missed the email.
Okay.
To vote.
Well, for a number of us who are signed up as part of the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance, which can be found online at thewowsignal.news, they did their first annual Hollywood Disclosure Alliance Awards. And they had a bunch of different categories that we all chose from. So excellence in feature films regarding aliens, Arrival won that, which was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Excellence in television went to The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. Excellent in documentary went to The Age of Disclosure. Excellence in docuseries went to Unidentified Inside America's UFO Investigation. Excellence in journalism, Ross Coulthart for his reality check. Excellence in radio, I got beat out by George Norrie and his beautiful mustache of power. I did. I'm not even hurt about that. Just glad I was in the game. Excellence in podcasting went to George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell for Weaponized. Excellence in books went to Skinwalkers at the Pentagon. Excellence in the advancement of disclosure went to Lou Elizondo's Imminent. Excellence in science went to Dr. Avi Loeb from Harvard's Galileo Project. What's your thoughts of these so far?
I think that it was good choices across the board, except for maybe Age of Disclosure. I too, if I had remembered to vote, Dave, I would have voted for Spaced Out Radio, of course. I don't, it makes you wonder how close, did you miss it by that much?
Oh, I'm sure I missed it by that much.
Interesting pick for Lou Elizondo's imminent as the pushing the topic of disclosure. I mean, I guess out of all of those guys, he has been the most vocal. All those, like we've talked about the myriad times in the past, some of those vocalizations have not been for the benefit of the topic, let's say. So I think so far, I think I would have probably picked like George Knapp as the most towards the topic of disclosure, because it seems like George Knapp is really like if anybody should have received the lifetime achievement award, because I know you haven't got there yet, but it probably should have been George Knapp, but it was given, I think, posthumously to Stanton Friedman, if I remember correctly.
I would say this. I wish they wouldn't have everybody vote. I think when you were giving out awards like this, and this would be my suggestion to Daniel Harari and Steve Bassett, who really work hard to put this together, and they do an impeccable job. But when you have your entire board or people who are members voting on things like this, it tends to become a popularity contest rather than who does the voting.
Right. Yeah. No,
Okay?
I definitely agree there.
And I'm going to use the journalism aspect, okay, as this. Ross Coulthard has done some great work in 2025, 2026. Okay. But so has George Knapp. I voted for Knapp in that category. I did. I voted for Knapp. Because whether you love George Knapp or you hate George Knapp, you're not a journalist for that long at one location without producing some incredible work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And he has been with KLAS television since 1981, I believe.
Yeah.
45 years. That never happens in journalism anymore. And there he is. And I would have voted for him, but that's my opinion. Others felt it was Ross. I don't think it's a wrong choice, right?
Yeah, but it's like you said, it can be. I don't want to imply that that's what it was here, but it can be a popularity contest.
Absolutely. I would agree. I would absolutely agree. Let's get to the rest of them here. Okay, let's see here. Hall of Fame award, posthumously, Stanton Friedman. How could you argue with that?
Yeah.
The J. Allen Hynek Award for Lifetime Achievement goes to Stephen Bassett, of the founder of the Paradigm Research Group. He must be in his glory right now. Just his glory. For as much as he is a very staunch, loud, and proud Democrat, he must be in his glory right now with what's happened in the last 120 hours. It's incredible. And I think those are good choices. You know, I really
Yep. Well, and it was the first annual, so there's always next year. I'll try to remember to vote next year.
Yeah, man. I'll tell you what bugged me about it is I got really, really sensitive to the idea when they talked about, you know, live radio shows, and then they got into podcasting. A lot of people today don't know the difference.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a huge difference between what radio broadcasters do and what podcasters do. There's a big difference with that. And I really believe that George Norrie, of course, is a logical choice Because, I mean, when you're talking to 650 radio stations and about 9 million people a night, you kind of have the audience to do what you want.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be necessarily just based on reach, but also on content.
Well, I can't say that. I was in the category.
Well, I wasn't. Although I guess technically I was. A third of me was. I don't know. But I don't know. I haven't listened to, I don't really listen to Spaced Out Radio that much, to be perfectly honest. It's on when I'm usually not, I like that Spaced Out Radio, coast to coast, what I said. Spaced Out Radio, though, it's available, like you said, the archives on YouTube. You can go and listen to any episode whenever it was on. And I don't know if Coast to Coast does the same thing. They may. If they don't, they're probably they should. But yeah, I mean, I like that I can go back and watch previous episodes. I can go back and watch myself give the UFO report if I want to. But yeah. Real quick, do we have 30 seconds?
Yes, we do.
Okay. I just wanted to let everybody know Avi Loeb has put out a call for people to help with the Galileo project. He needs eyeballs on screens, looking at footage that they capture they've got 3 stations now, one in Massachusetts at Harvard, one in Pennsylvania, and one in Nevada. And they're constantly taking pictures of the sky and all kinds of stuff. And they need eyeballs on screens, reviewing data, helping them identify UFO, UAP. So if you go to Avi Loeb's Medium page, there's a link there. It'll take you to the sign up form, and you can sign up to be a volunteer to help them comb through images to find outliers.
Thank you, Wizard, as we say hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Good job, Wizard. Good job.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure, my man.
Like I said, it's been good fun. So, last show for me, at least as a regular, will be on Thursday. But now I really do need to go to bed because I have to get up and give a client presentation at 7:00 in the morning.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. Well, you get going. We appreciate you, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. I enhanced that photo and I sent it back to you. If you want to take a peek at that whenever you have a chance, you can make out the face a little bit better than the one you sent me.
I'll check it out here momentarily.
Okay.
All right, bro.
All right. See y'all later.
Later. Bye-bye. All right, close that off. There goes the wizard. The wizard. The wizard. There goes the wizard. The wizard. The wizard. All right. What's old Davy doing here? Oh, that's what I need to do. And let's go here. Like this. And like that. And like that. And let's go like this. Shall we? Let's. It's not in there yet. So ready? It's still loading. Up there. Get rid of that. There. Would you look at that? Would you look at that? Would you look at that? Right here. There it is. Oh, I did the wrong one. Hold on. Get rid of that. That one's too much to edit. Too much to edit. This one is better. Excuse me. There we be. There we be. There we be. Beautiful. Excellent. 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 Now you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but trust me, it's good. Get rid of this. So we don't need that anymore. PRM Productions, how are you? There we go. Tomorrow night on the show, Courtney Marcassani will be here. We're to get more into the UFO stuff because we can, people. We can. And it's going to be grand when we do. Grand, I tell you. Absolutely grand. Grand. Say it with me. Grand. Race fan, please don't. No offense, buddy. All right. Yes, Derek, we know. You had the best goalie in the world who played the best game of his life. And that's why you won. Because we were all over you for 40 minutes and we couldn't get anything by him. And Connor Hellebuck was amazing. Absolutely amazing. Some people would say he had a grand game. It was a grand game. Why? Jack Hughes played like shit. He took a high stick to the teeth, which happens. It's a hockey player. He's got that nice look. He's half Canadian as well. Okay. And then goes out on 3-on-3, makes an incredible shot. He wasn't great all game. That's okay. I'll let you have that one. I'll let you have that one. Yeah, that happened in the second period. You get your teeth, players get their teeth knocked out all the time. Pride. Finally, he's got a hockey smile rather than the pretty boy smile. I'd lose a couple of teeth for a gold medal too. Hell yeah. Kid is good. And Quinn Hughes is amazing. That game we had the second best goalie in the world. Maybe the best. We had the top two defensemen in the world in Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes. Top forwards, like 5 of the top forwards in the world. 4 of the top 5 NHL scorers. It's a loaded, stacked game. We couldn't finish. It happens. 9 times out of 10, you're going to win that game when you outshoot the opposition 41-23 or 24, whatever it is. But those few times where it gets really, really good, when you see an epic performance like Connor Hellebuck in the American net, it was so impressive. Conor McGregor, he doesn't play hockey. Are you talking Connor McDavid? I would say Edmonton or Colorado. With probably Colorado leading that charge. Nobody's I don't, as an Oilers fan, I'd be very shocked if my Oilers got through Colorado this year. Tyreek Hill, he is, I bet you, where do you think Tyreek Hill signs? Pardon me for blowing my nose in the microphone. I just realized that while I was doing it. How silly was that? I'm sorry. Tyreek Hill needs to go. I think Tyreek Hill's days of being a number one receiver are over. Just my opinion. And I can't see a top 10 team signing him. I see him going to a team that's maybe 11 through 19 rated. There was an interesting stat I saw a few weeks ago, maybe about a month and a half ago now, maybe. And it was of all of the big name receivers who have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, how the majority of them have never won a Super Bowl, even when they been put on a Super Bowl contender. I think it went back to Randy Moss. All right, guys, tomorrow night on the show, Courtney Marcassani, she's going to break down all of the latest and greatest UFO news happening, and there's a lot to update you on. We'll have all of that happening. Thank you tonight to T-Bone for all those incredible super chats and as well as gifting of memberships. Thank you to Little Cam. Thank you to Walter, Benno, and Mikey. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you all tomorrow night. Don't forget, I want to know what you guys thought of tonight's show of the Glimmer Man. So make sure you leave a comment below. I'd really appreciate it. I want to see what you guys think. We'll see you all tomorrow night, everybody. Take care.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.